Hello and welcome to our Flip video lesson 2.0 for Julius Caesar. And the video links will be here once the video posts, and you can go back and watch the recording if needed. Lesson learning objectives. Compare Julius Caesar and Cincinnatus and their relationship to societal changes. Describe the crisis in the Roman Republic by 88 BC and summarize the achievements of Julius Caesar. Table of contents. We're going to talk about our introduction, Julius Caesar and his reign, and then your student guide pages 315 to 317. We're going to talk about some important vocabulary to help with your understanding of the lesson, and then your Human Odyssey reading pages 372 to 376. Introduction 2.0 for Julius Caesar. Rome's rapid growth brought political, economic, and societal changes. The government tried to deal with those changes, but by 88 BC, there was a real crisis. The republic that was a model for representative government was in ruins. Then, as is often the case in times of crisis, one leader emerged. That leader was Julius Caesar. The growth of the Roman Republic in the East and the West created new economic and social and political pressures at home. Those pressures so affected the institutions of the republic that the republic's very nature changed. And we're going to take a quick pause from our flip video, and we're going to move into a little mini documentary about Julius Caesar, and then we'll come back to fill in our student guide.
Welcome to ancient Rome, a government founded as a republic in 509 BC. This powerful nation quickly grew from one small city to an enormous empire covering Europe, Western Asia, Northern Africa, and the Mediterranean islands. It maintained this governance for nearly 450 years, until Julius Caesar incited the gradual collapse of the Roman Republic. Gaius Julius Caesar is known as one of the greatest military leaders in history. After years of traveling to different lands and cultivating his power through military conquests, Caesar returned to Rome. In 60 BC, Rome was in chaos. There was rioting in the streets, violence, and even an unsuccessful plot to overthrow the current leadership. It was three men who saw an opportunity to form an alliance and transform the government. This was the birth of the first triumvirate, a role of consul shared between Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Marcus Licinius Crassus, and Gaius Julius Caesar. These three leaders were the most politically powerful men in Rome. Although this three-headed monster did not always see eye to eye, they put aside their differences to rule the republic. In 53 BC, Crassus, who had left Rome to command his army, was killed in battle, leaving only Caesar and Pompey as co-consul. Tension between the men quickly increased. Caesar had left the city as he was named governor of Gaul, where he skillfully made peace with the native Celtic and Germanic tribes. This won him popularity amongst the people, amassing a great following. Back in Rome, this presented a threat to the Senate and to Pompey. Thus, Pompey was able to convince the Senate that Caesar was gaining too much power, and Caesar was ordered to return to Rome and stand trial amongst false allegations of treason. Julius Caesar was not one to back down without a fight. He refused to return to stand trial, and on January 10th, 49 BC, Caesar rallied his troops and crossed the Rubicon River, declaring, "Let us go, where the omens of the gods and the crimes of our enemies summon us. The die is now cast." There was no turning back. Caesar had declared civil war. This historic event marked the first attack on the Roman Republic. It became the catalyst to the establishment of an empire. During the civil war that ensued, Pompey's troops were no match for Caesar's. Caesar quickly pushed his enemies out of Rome. Pompey escaped to Egypt, but for fear of offending Caesar, the Egyptian king had Pompey murdered. Now that the triumvirate had been dismantled, Caesar was sole leader of Rome. Not long into his rule, Caesar declared himself dictator for life, which was a move that angered many senators, fearing the collapse of the Roman Republic. In the first year of Caesar's rule, he made many changes to the city. Caesar made efforts to strengthen the infrastructure of Rome, which gained him even more popularity amongst the citizens and continued to boost his power over Rome. Unfortunately for Caesar, many of the politicians did not share the sentiment of the citizens. They deeply feared his rising power. Long ago, when Romans defeated a tyrannical king, they swore to never allow Rome to become a monarchy again. And this is exactly where they believed Caesar's ambitions were leading him. In their determination to put a stop to Caesar's rule before he could become a tyrant, several Roman senators, including those who were his own friends, plotted at Caesar's assassination. On the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, Caesar was murdered. Although this evil deed was committed in hopes of liberating Rome from the possibility that it may become a monarchy, the Roman citizens were outraged, and with the clever rhetoric of Caesar's close friend Mark Antony, the citizens were turned against the conspirators, and yet another civil war ensued. It was Caesar's great-grandnephew Gaius Octavian who formed a strong military and fought against Caesar's enemies. Octavian defeated the troops, becoming one of 2 consuls in Rome. Ironically, it was the assassination of Julius Caesar that slowly dissolved the Republic and led Rome to become exactly what the senators were fighting against. Eventually, Octavian was given the title of Augustus, meaning majesty. And although the government seemed like it was still a republic on the surface, it was truly Augustus who held all the power, and he became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire. The Senate's assassination of Julius Caesar was in vain, and even after his untimely death, Julius Caesar's ambitions were realized.
Go ahead and open your student guide to page 317. You can get a piece of notebook paper to write on for Julius Caesar's profile if you would like. It's not in your student guide, but if you just want to do the questions for the reading guide, you will not need an additional piece of paper. Question number 1. Where did the farmers like Firmus go? Was it easy for them to find work and housing? And how did slave labor affect their chances of finding work? So most farmers sold their farms to the wealthy and then they moved to Rome. The city was dirty and overcrowded. There was very little work because the wealthy used slaves to do the work. So there wasn't work for the commoners as there was in the past. Thousands of poor Romans spent much of their time in the streets and marketplace. They also attended races, wrestling contests, plays, and parades. What is the Forum? The Forum is the great public meeting place of Rome. And so there's 2 pictures there. One of kind of the top one is a reconstruction of what it most likely looked like. And then the bottom is what it looks like today. Still standing, but definitely in ruins. Question number 3. What does the expression to cross the Rubicon mean? The expression to cross the Rubicon means to take an action from which there is no turning back. And this next slide is not in your student guide, but I thought it was kind of a fun fact. If you've ever heard of the Rubicon Jeep, it got me thinking, why was it named the Rubicon? Did it have anything to do with Caesar? So I looked it up, and in fact it does. The Rubicon, which is this small river, and it marked the official border between Italy and the reign of the Alps that was ruled by Julius Caesar. And crossing the Rubicon was a declaration of war, right? It was this power control, hey, I am powerful, I am strong. And so the Jeep owners fashioned the name, the Rubicon Jeep, after Caesar's famous quote of crossing the Rubicon, meaning, never going back. So again, I just thought that was kind of a fun fact there. All right, back to our student guide, question number 4. Where did the expression Vendi, Vidi, Vici originate? That should be Veni, right? Vidi, Vici was the declaration. I'm sorry, I have a typo there. That should be, sorry about that. There we go. Was the declaration that Caesar made after one of his victories. The expression means I came, I saw, I conquered. Question number 5. What title did Caesar give himself, and why did this title make some Romans unhappy? Caesar gave himself the title dictator for life. Many Romans were upset with this title because the role resembles that a king of Romans hated kings. Remember, they were trying to move towards a republic, or they moved towards a republic, and now they were kind of going back towards this dictator, which was a reflection of a monarchy that they had tried to get away from. And then there's no really space in your student guide for a profile on Julius Caesar. So this is where if you'd like to get out a piece of paper, you can write this down. If not, you can just go ahead and listen and kind of store this in your memory bank. Lifespan and title, around 100 BC to 44 BC, and his title was dictator for life. That's a title that he gave himself. Something he may have thought when he was crossing the Rubicon. There's no turning back now. Aspects of Roman society that influenced Caesar. The Republic was in chaos. Rival factions in government were plotting against each other. Wealthy individuals owned most of the land. There was a large, poor, idle class of people. Riots broke out. Soldiers were loyal to the commoners instead of to Rome, and the government was ineffective. Characteristics of Caesar. He was ambitious, brilliant. He was a brilliant general, brutal warrior, single-minded, ruthless, gifted writer, skilled politician, and spellbinding orator. And so that's a whole range of kind of good and bad characteristics, but they were all very strong characteristics that he held. How Caesar changed Rome. He had absolute power as a dictator for life. He lowered taxes, he gave land to the poor, and he established a Julian calendar. How Caesar is remembered today. He established the Julian calendar that we still use today. His family name Caesar became the title for all emperors who ruled Rome in other times. And just as a side note, that Rubicon, you may not have known, but when you see a Rubicon Jeep, now you can remember Caesar. Roman society during Caesar's time. There were wealthy individuals. They owned and controlled the land. The government of Rome was corrupt. Civil war broke out, and Romans were losing their faith in their government. And civil war is that kind of war and battle within a country. They're not battling foreigners, they're battling each other. Roman society during the time of Cincinnatus. Rome's government was based on law in which many people had a voice, and Rome was being surrounded and threatened by outside forces. And then kind of a comparison of Cincinnatus and Julius Caesar, a very small, brief comparison. Cincinnatus accepted the role of dictator in a crisis, and then he gave his power back up. He said, okay, I'm going to come in and help, but once the help is done, once you no longer need me, I'm going to back away. Caesar used a crisis to gain power and then made himself dictator for life. So, you can both did good in certain actions, but Cincinnatus was willing to step back and let others rule. Caesar took that power and said, hey, I'm going to continue to rule. So that's probably the biggest difference. Okay, and here we get to our important vocabulary. So a dictator is a ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force. Societal changes are just changes within a society, basic daily, everyday life changes. A republic is a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, and which has an elected or nominated leader rather than a monarch. And a Rubicon is Julius Caesar entered, or not a Rubicon is a Jeep, the Rubicon. Julius Caesar entered Roman territory by crossing the Rubicon, a stream in what is now northern Italy. In crossing the Rubicon, Caesar began a civil war that signaled the end of the Roman Republic. Please make sure you do complete your readings, pages 372 to 376. That ties together this lesson. It's really, really important that you do have those readings complete and done before completing your assessments or before moving on to the next lesson. And here we come to our quote section from the Confucius the Analects. Do not allow your efforts to slacken. Thank you so much for joining me today. The ultimate list: get more sleep, drink more water, get more exercise, read more, get more organized, clean more often, explore more, relax more, have more patience, forget doing more. Just try your best. Have an amazing day.